Alright, most of you probably don't care about this video. It's just gonna be a video of me making zong with my mom. Zong, or zongzi in Mandarin, is a sticky rice dumpling that can be savory or sweet that is eaten during Ramble Festival. It's a relatively simple recipe, but it can be really time consuming just because of how many things you have to prep beforehand. You have to soak things beforehand, you need to cut things beforehand, you need to marinate things beforehand, brine things beforehand. So it can be quite time consuming. Usually you're only going to find old Chinese grandmas that are making this, but I find the process really calming and kind of fun when I make it. To start, you want to basically soak all your ingredients. So that's your mushrooms, your mung bean, dried scallop, your dried shrimp, and your rice. For the rice and the mung bean, you want to marinate that beforehand. Add a little bit of salt. You can add some MSG if you want. Some people put soy sauce. You just don't want it to be bland. For the pork belly, according to my mom, traditionally we'll just put 5-spice powder and some salt. When you're about to create the dumplings, don't forget your salted egg, lapchang, and chestnuts. Those can be just used straight out of the bag, no prep work or marination needed. This is by no means the only way to make it. There are multiple different regions in China that make it differently. For example, some places might use red bean instead of mung bean, some places use peanuts, some places have these ingredients, those ingredients. This is just how my family makes it, so there's really no definitive way to make it, just whatever you have, right? Whatever you think tastes good, just add it in there. Kimchi would be pretty cool in here. I honestly want to make this video just because I always forget how to fold these damn dumplings. So watch carefully. It's kind of confusing. Every year, my mom always teaches me, and then every year I always forget, and I just make the ugliest little turds ever. So this is going to be like study material for the next year when I have to make this again. So a lot of people that don't know the Chinese name, which is zong or zongzi in Mandarin, they'll call it Chinese tamales, which is actually a really fitting name. Like, the more I think about it, this is really similar to just a tamal, right? So it kind of makes sense why Mexican food is one of my favorite types of food. But there's actually a really cute story about why we eat zongzi or zong on Dragon Boat Festival. So the story goes, there was a really nice judge or like some type of like regional council person or something like that. He treated his subjects and his people really, really well. But then one day the main government threw him in jail and then like put him on death row, right? So then what happened was, after he was thrown into the ocean, the commoners or like his subjects, they felt really bad for him, and they didn't want the fish in the water to be eating his remains. So instead what they did was they created these super high calorie dense rice dumplings and then threw them into the ocean so that hopefully the fish would eat these dumplings and be too full to eat his remains. So that's kind of the story as to why we eat zongzi or zong on Dragon Boat Festival. And the other cool thing, it's really, really funny how we call this Chinese tamales, because Dragon Boat Festival actually occurs on the 5th day of the 5th month of the Chinese calendar, or of the lunar calendar. So technically, Dragon Boat Festival occurs on Cinco de Mayo, on the lunar calendar. So calling it Chinese tamales is actually quite accurate, right? I just thought that was really interesting. Hashtag easily amused. Now I won't front, this is actually quite a lot of work. Just like every dumpling takes, I think, like 5 minutes to make, because I'm slow. Let's be honest, it's just because I'm slow. But if you're too lazy to make this, or you don't have the time, you can often go to a lot of Chinese bakeries and they'll have these on the side, especially the ones that sell, like, for example, your barbecue pork buns, your pineapple buns. Those type of Asian bakeries or Hong Kong style bakeries will sell these for around where I live, maybe like $4 to around $4.50, $5. And they'll have multiple different types. They'll often have 3 types, maybe 4 types, which will be mung bean, peanut, and red bean. And they'll also have a sweet version sometimes. Sweet version is definitely a different flavor profile and also texture profile, and I definitely recommend it if you never tried it before. Sometimes there's red bean filling inside, and oftentimes you'll dip it in some type of like sugar syrup or some type of like honey, and that's also really, really good to eat as a dessert. If you still can't find it anywhere, that's okay, don't worry about it. Honestly, I like lomaikai that they sell at dim sum. I like that a lot more. That one, I've seen recipes where they mix lard in with the rice and they'll cook it with so many different types of aromatics and all these things. And like, instead of using bamboo leaf, they use lotus leaf to wrap it, and that makes it even more fragrant. The meats are now those things are really heavily marinated and it tastes super good. But both are good, and if you get the opportunity, I would definitely recommend trying both. This is more or less how you would make and wrap zong. Obviously, I'm not the best at making it. Definitely my mom is a lot better. But hey, close enough and you get points for trying. I hope. And here's just a comparison between how nice my mom's looks and how turdish mine look. After that, you want to just boil it off you boiled it for a really long time. So I'd say like maybe 3 to 4 hours. What my mom said is that my grandma, what she would do is she would put a bamboo leaf on top of the pot, and then when that bamboo leaf started getting charred, then she would know that it's done cooking. My bucket of Chinese tamales, or zong in Cantonese. Open a normal one. Right. Let's open here. Let's do a pretty one. I'm gonna get one of mine. Mine are uglier. Let's do this one. This one's definitely. This is definitely the one that I made. The uglier one. My mom made the better looking ones. Okay. And you saw how I made it, right? It's just bamboo leaf, wrapped green bean, purple rice, lapchang, salted egg, dried scallop, dried shrimp, and this is what it looks like inside. There's what it looks like. It's cut in half. That's what it looks like inside. I hope you see everything. So the salted egg, you can see the lapchang in there. You see the chestnut lapchang. There's pork belly in there. Delicious. Here's the one I used corn leaf with. So this is the actual Chinese tamale. Should be the same exact thing, just with corn and corn leaf wrapping it. That's what it looks like. Here's my corn one. I mean, it looks exactly the same, but uses corn instead. Let's see if it tastes any different. Tastes exactly the same. Go figure. Happy Dragon Boat Festival or Happy Chinese Cinco de Mayo. I'm actually tasting it now. The one wrapped with the corn leaf, it's actually sweeter because I guess the corn leaf one is actually sweeter. It's actually slightly sweeter because there's like the sweetness from the corn leaves. The other one's more like savory, more fragrant, I guess, from the bamboo leaf. Both are pretty cool. Try it out. Happy Dragon Boat Festival.